Hi everyone. Today we are going over a very discussed topic. Is obesity a choice? This is really a tough question, and many people seem to think about it something like this, where you have this trigger to pull, and they choose to pull that trigger, and so they have chosen to be obese. Well, in my opinion, that is not how it works. I think it is more complicated than this. It's not just a simple switch. If that is the case, then it means that deciding to get lean from obese would be as easy. You just have to press that button. But this is not how it works. In fact, if you selected 100 people at random and gave them the option to decide whether they want obese or not, I'm confident that they would prefer not to be obese. Also because there are so many health implications related to obesity that no one would choose to be obese in the first place. Actually, I think it's more like this, where you have this lifelong continuous series of choices to eat certain foods instead of others. You can decide to eat fruit with Greek yogurt instead of having a bowl of ice cream. Or you can have your fried chicken rather than grilled with French fries rather than vegetables. And you can drink regular water or a Diet Coke, instead of having that Coke filled up with sugar and useless calories. But the choices doesn't concern only food, also lifestyle. You can decide to wake up at 7 a.m., going for a run or a walk before starting your day, or you can decide to stay in bed longer. You can decide to go to the gym and lift some weights, or decide to binge watching on Netflix while eating chips all day long. It always goes down to one simple thing: a choice. So, over time the choice you made will tell if you are going to be obese or not. If you made more healthy choices, you're going to be leaner. But still, I don't want to simplify this just to choices, because also external and internal factors are quite effective in this context. First of all, genetics play a role on this. There are people with a higher body fat set point than other, so their body are designed to be at a certain fat level, and for them lowering that fat point it's harder than someone whose set point is at 15% body fat. Also, appetite signals can affect this. Also, how you were raised as a child has a big role on this. If you were educated to eat with moderation and balance, eating from all food groups without overfeeding on junk food, that also will have an impact on your behavior with food. Let's imagine a child who has been raised always eating at McDonald's, staying at home watching TV, and never exercise. How would you think this kid will act when he grow up? Probably he will continue to behave the same way, unless he realizes that this way is unhealthy and consciously make the choice to change his habits. But changing an habit, it requires a lot of willpower. It's hard. It requires a lot of commitment. I'm not saying it's impossible, but is not as easier than someone who has always been used to have a healthy lifestyle. Genetics, as I said, play a role in this. In a study done in 1990, there were 24 subjects who had to eat on a daily surplus of 1,000 calories for about 3 months. All the participants were under a strict supervision during the study, so we can be confident that everyone was following the protocol. What was found was that many of the participants just gained about 10 pounds of body weight, while one person gained 30 pounds. That's 3 times the weight of the others. But why? I believe his massive gain of weight was caused by having a much slower metabolism than the others. That means that his total daily energy expenditure was way lower than the other participants, so the 1,000 calories of surplus had a much greater impact on him. That is why I think it's incorrect to reduce all of these factors down to a simple choice to be obese or not. Also, let's think about another factor: food availability and food accessibility. Nowadays we live in a society where food is abundant. You can just walk out of your house and easily find a place to eat. Also, a lot of the venues where you can eat are fast food, where they serve high-calorie dense food, like hamburgers and fries, at relatively low prices. So everybody can have a 2,000 calories meal by spending $10 to $15. So, junk food tends to be more accessible to people who has lower incomes, because it's cheaper, and since they live on a strict budget, they may choose to have junk food because it provides more worth to them. Also, publicity promotes having larger and larger meals, so we tend to eat more and going beyond our satiety point. So, become obese, I can conclude, cannot be defined as a simple choice because there are many factors involved: genetical, behavioral, environmental, social, and so on. But this is not an excuse. Because, while become obese may not be a choice, I think that remaining obese is a choice, and that's when you're accountable for that.
What is that, Private Pile?
Sir, jelly donuts, sir!
A jelly donut!
And you can't use any excuse blaming everything else but you for being obese. In fact, once you realized you don't want to be obese anymore, then you have the power to make the right choices, to go for a walk, to put the fork down and eat in a caloric deficit.
Get up here, fat boy! Quickly, move it out, pile, move it out! You climb obstacles like old people fuck, you know that, Private Pile? Get up here, you're too slow, move it, move it!
To avoid binging on junk food. I know that the path will be hard to lose weight. I'm not saying it's easy. I know that dieting it's hard. But if you really want to be healthy, you can get there. So when you fail, it's your responsibility, it's your fault. I'm sorry to be so harsh, but that's the honest truth. Since dieting it's hard, you have to make sure you use all the mean to make it easier to stick to it. So, don't crush diet. Eat low-calorie dense food that makes you full. Make your food taste better even on a deficit. Find alternatives to eat something you like, while still be in a deficit. Do some cardio. Remember, it's up to you now to make the right choice to lose the weight and keep it off. So, I'm sorry for being harsh on you, but you have to be realistic. You have to know the truth, because only by being realistic you can truly make the changes that you need to do. Hope you like the video. Feel free to leave a comment, share your opinion on this. I would like to hear from you what you think. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share it with your friends. See you on the next one.